Hey guys, what's up? So again, we're doing this new podcast here. I got Andrew on here. Andrew is going to share with us just a lot of ins and outs on what you can do with credit cards, and he's got an amazing story. I don't want to keep you here, but Andrew, you are on, man. How is it going down there in Miami? I'm up here in Seattle and stuck here in the rain, and you're down in a yacht. And hey, I think guys who are listening to this, your channel, my channel, they want to know more about what's going on with you.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Craig. Totally. And yeah, Miami is amazing. Weather's great. Finally, almost done with hurricane season. Can take the yacht out a lot more often now that the waves aren't too crazy. But yeah, things are going good. Just running my funding business every day. And yeah, just trying to help more people change their lives with access to capital.
Well, yeah, let's talk about that. So, give me a little background on everyone that's listening, your story. How does someone go from where you're at right now? Whether people are watching, I think a lot of the folks that are watching, maybe they're just trying to buy their first property. I'm coming from a real estate background. You're obviously coming from a little bit of a hybrid of everything, but tell us how you got to where you're at. How did this all happen, man?
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good question. I started out as a DoorDash delivery driver.
Yeah.
So like, before I got into all this entrepreneurship stuff, I was driving DoorDash, making $2,000 to $3,000 a month. I wasn't really happy with what I was doing, and I was looking for some way to start making more money online and just create a business and create something that I had more control of and the more opportunity to make more money as well. So maybe similar to when people are first buying a real estate property for the first time. They're maybe working some job that they're not happy with, or maybe they're looking to add more income to their work. And, I started, investigating online, looking for different things that other people were doing successfully that were working for them. And I stumbled upon like business that just made the most sense for me, like sales, marketing, those kinds of, skills and turning that into income. And I funded a lot of mentorships using 0% interest capital. While I have a lot of students or, clients inside my program who get funding to renovate or flip their first property. For me, I was using that money to invest into learning skills so that way I could, grow and expand in my business.
Yeah, so I think there's a mouthful there. So let's say, I got family members, friends, they have credit cards, right? What have you seen just even with your students? What are some of the most common hurdles they're dealing with on and what are some of their goals? I mean, that when they come to you with, what are they trying to achieve when they come to you typically?
Yeah, I think the main reason why someone would want to actually take advantage of the 0% credit card offers is so that they can invest into something that allows them to achieve their goals. And most of the time, their goals are to, not be tied to a job that they're not happy with, or be able to provide more income for their family, or, really just take control of their life. They're not making enough money in whatever it is that they're doing. They're not happy with that. Maybe they're tired of the boring routine that they're in, and maybe they want to break free of it and do something more. And, you know, they see an opportunity to invest in themselves, invest into real estate, invest into a business, invest into something that's going to teach them the necessary skills to increase their income and bring them to the next level. So a lot of people, when they're starting out, I'm helping them access 0% credit cards. Maybe it be $50,000, $100,000. Sometimes you get people $200,000. And then there's so much that they can use that money for. Like they could invest into a sales mentorship and get better at sales, like, invest into sales training. They could invest into a multifamily property mentorship. They could invest into their first, distressed property so they can go and flip it for a profit 3 months later. So while most people maybe don't have like $50,000 sitting in their bank account, I think the average American only has a few $1,000s in their savings. This gives them the opportunity to access capital that would normally take years to save up.
So yeah, I it's so interesting. Yeah, I mean, in the environment we're in right now, the folks who are listening to us, they might be listening 3 months from now. Election, there could be something dramatic that goes on with the election. Interest rates are going to fluctuate in 2025. What do you kind of see, and what are you kind of steering some of your students, guys who you're mentoring? What are the hurdles you're seeing coming up in 2025? Because I think we're going obviously into an environment we've never been before, right? The economy's changing like never before. And we might even have an administration that I'll give you an example. In real estate, they're taking back something called cost segregation, where they're slowly tapering down some of these tax incentives. So there's a lot of things taking place in 2025. Obviously, we hope the interest rates will continue to go down, but that'll create another interesting environment. So what are you kind of forecasting right now in 2025? What keeps you up at night?
Yeah, that's a really good question.
Yeah.
So I think there's a lot of things that probably the number one thing I see that entrepreneurs really struggle with, and the thing that they miss out on, are opportunities. They're slow to take action and they're slow to jump on something when the opportunity presents itself. They expect that thing to be there months down the road, or maybe they can get back to it in years down the road, when the reality is that opportunities don't actually last that long. And if they want to be successful, they have to take advantage of opportunities when they present themselves. There's things that are going to be happening, such as, say if, Kamala Harris wins, for example, she wants to do the $25,000 tax credit. But then you,
Yeah.
then you see people, though, like Grant Cardone, who say, hey, if she does this, it's just going to drive the value of properties up. And there's like all this different, like he said, she said stuff, and you don't know what's going to happen in 2025. That's 2 weeks away from when we're recording this.
Right.
And like the problem with most entrepreneurs is that they don't take advantage of opportunities when they present themselves, and they think that it's going to be available in 2 years. But the best opportunity to take advantage of it was the moment it was presented to them. There's many opportunities, and I'm sure that you've probably had the same experiences,
Oh, yeah.
where there's a small window of time where I had an opportunity to take advantage of something, where months later the landscape was completely different. So it happened when I learned sales. I had like a 1 week window of time. It would have never been offered again to learn sales. And if I didn't do that, I wouldn't be on this podcast. Same with YouTube. I've spent over $6 million on YouTube advertising. And there was a small window of time where I had an opportunity to work one-on-one with a mentor, where, say if I joined 3 months after, I would not have had the same opportunity to work with that person, because that person had, delegated responsibilities and tasks to other people. So I would have worked with an employee versus the owner, the person who actually spent the money. So that, I think, is the biggest problem with entrepreneurs going into 2025, is not necessarily an access to capital. It's their indecision, their ability to fight their limiting beliefs or confront their fears and take action when the moment presents itself.
Yeah, so this could go in a different direction now. Taking action. So look, being an ex-military guy myself, I'm very prideful on taking action, executive decisions, things like that. And by the way, I don't know your background on that, and I can say that I was on a podcast last week with entrepreneur on fire, John Lee Dumas. I'm not sure if
Yeah.
you've heard of. Yeah, he's great. And him and I, he was an officer. I was not an officer. But the one thing hallmark that we got out of being in the military was discipline, right? It is all about the discipline, whether it's taking the action, like you mentioned. But I will talk about that more, about the taking action part. So
Yeah.
you've seen some of these guys come to you, right? They come to you, guys, girls. They have $5,000 to their name, $10,000 to their name, and they want to turn it into 100K. The problem is they want it in 30, 90 days, right? So what are you
That's
telling
another
them
problem.
about the delayed gratification side of things? Because I think that gets talked about a lot, but it just does. No one ever goes granular on it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's another huge issue, is that a big problem with entrepreneurs who are just starting out think that they're going to be successful within 30 to 90 days. And the reality is that you'll really start to see that success after maybe a year, 2 years. I know for myself, like I had really focused on studying like for a year and a half before I really, you know, took off with my first wildly successful business. I was maybe making like $3,000, $5,000 a month for the first 2 years, learning entrepreneurial skills before I made my first $20,000 or $30,000 a month in profit. And then another year after that, before I started making six figures a year, 6 figures a month in profit. But it was like slowly compounding those skills and taking it step by step. And you're right, having a lot of discipline, like really being willing to show up every day and, really take action on the right things and surround yourself with the right people who have the skills that you want. But most importantly, being disciplined, not getting sidetracked by all these distractions or all these things that get in the way of your success.
Yeah, having that discipline where the payroll comes before the Porsche, right?
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
some guys, yeah, I know some real estate guys, and my story is I had some good years in 2018, 2019. We went through a dark period, not right after COVID, right, in 20 late 2020, 2022, when the real estate market kind of started inching up on people, right? There was basically a turn in the rates, right? So the rates started going up. But we reset again last year, and now we're going to have our best year ever, and we're going to approach that eight-figure mark. So we're happy on that, but that's not where we're happy. We want to go towards much more than that. So on your end, what do you see as you talked a little bit about what's the future for Andrew and Bessie basically 5 years from now? What are you looking to do?
Yeah, I definitely want to get involved in real estate. That's totally something I want to do. Hopefully, there's not too many changes with cost segregation or depreciation because that would be awesome to still take advantage of, right? And yeah, I really just want to grow my own companies. I want to be able to impact more people. I think once, and I'm sure a lot of once you get to like a certain stage of entrepreneurship, I think a lot of people realize this one thing about you realize that you can be successful for yourself without any issues. You've developed these skills, you've developed these opportunities for yourself, and you know that you'll always be all right. And then you look at your environment around you and notice that other people could also be doing better. And your responsibility shifts from taking care of yourself to taking care of other people. And
Yeah.
then you start taking care of your family, and then you start taking care of other people who believe in what you're doing. And I think as I grow and expand, I feel like I'm called to help more people and, learn more about how I can expand and, foster a bigger team and, take care of more clients.
Right. So it sounds like Andrew, and this brings me to a point here that you probably had mentors along the way. What do you think? What were some of the vital turning points in your last 5 years where a mentor basically led you in the right direction? Because this is I think, a big hurdle for a lot of people to hire just any mentor, right? It doesn't have to be you, myself, anyone who's listening here. I mean, someone's family member could be a mentor, right? I think what have they steered you out of, and do you wish you maybe would have done that earlier? What's kind of some of the learning learning situations from that in the
Yeah.
past?
Yeah, I think there's two things to consider when it comes to mentors that just come to mind when you ask that is number one, you have to be willing to waste before you can have. And a lot of people have this backwards. They want to have things without having to waste anything. They want all the benefit of a mentorship without having to waste or spend any money on it. And then when they do lose money on it, they freak out because the truth is that not every business deal that you do is going to be a success. There's going to be failures and there's going to be things that you run into that you're going to have to confront and handle it and not get too misemotional about those things. So that's definitely number one. A lot of people get very disappointed when something doesn't go their way the first time. And you need to understand that's something that may happen with a mentor, and you're going to have to pick up and learn from those things. But I think most importantly, when it comes to mentors, is being willing to accept constructive criticism. If you can't accept constructive criticism, then why did you pay all that money for it in the first place? Because nothing's going to change if you stay the same. Like, you're paying money for a mentorship to not stay the same because you want to grow, and it's going to require that some changes are made. So if you want to expand, you have to be willing to accept new information, take constructive criticism, understand what you're doing wrong and what could be better, and don't get so, upset if what you were doing was wrong, and rather take that learning experience and grow from it. I see many people like just cave in and get upset when, when the wrong outcomes come out, and they don't take a positive out of it. You always got to find something you can admire about the situation, and you should always be willing to accept constructive criticism.
Yeah, I think people's ego, it gets in the way, right? We see that over and over again. Some of us have experience with our family members. We try to assist our family members in giving them advice, but you're right. It sometimes advice can come off as not warranted advice, right? So, what have you kind of seen? What are some of the success stories that you've kind of seen? Maybe you said you've helped quite a few people already, correct?
Oh yeah, yeah. We've helped thousands of people, whether it be getting to, their first Section 8
Yeah.
property. Um, but I think the more the more valuable stories, just in my own opinion, is like, sure, like you can help someone achieve a financial result, but I think what they're capable of now doing based on a financial outcome, it allows them to do, right? Such as spend more time with family or be able to, I think that's like really the big one, like being able to
Yeah.
do things that they previously weren't able to do in the past. I think more than just like, I bought my first property or I launched my first business or, I achieved this like business outcome, this professional outcome. I think the personal outcomes of how it impacts their life, such as, yeah, spending more time with family. I think that's really like the big one, honestly. I mean, I think that's like one of the big reasons why, people do these kinds of things, is to take care of their family or be able to take care of people around them and be able to have more time freedom. And so those are like the big wins. I remember early on, I had a guy who was, making money with some investment that he found, and he was able to actually quit his job and start traveling all over the world. I think that's like the stuff that, when you get to help someone accomplish their dreams, that's really the outcome that you're shooting for anyway, as a result of investing in some business opportunity.
So let's talk about let's give something to the everyone watching here, right? Um, what are just some simple things if let's say I'm 22 right now, I just got out of school. I got this useless poli sci major. Just call it for I happen to know someone in the Seattle area who has a major of this nature, and they got 3,000 to their name. What would you recommend they do? They want to buy crypto. They've realized that maybe Bitcoin is the only solution right now. They can't afford Bitcoin. Where do they go right now? What do you recommend to them? I personally recommend that they obviously work on themselves, and I think we can be in agreement on that. But let's give something free. What would you steer if this guy was your nephew? What would you tell him right now or her?
Yeah, yeah, sure, totally. No, I think you're spot on. Like, when you're first starting out, the first thing you do need to work on is yourself. You can't go into business, you can't go into investing without the proper mindset, without the proper attitude. You could learn about all these things, but if you don't have the right approach and if you don't have the right attitude, if you can't take responsibility for things that happen to you or things that happen in your environment, and you're so fixated on blaming others for your failures and things that you could have taken better control of, you're going to struggle with entrepreneurship or being successful on your own. If you're always blaming other people for things that happen to you, you have to take responsibility of how could have you been better in some way, shape, or form, right? But yeah, number one is like really working on yourself and there's a concept I really like called be, do, have. And, if you have big goals and you have big dreams of having things, well, first you have to assume like, who do you need to be before you can have those things? And
Yeah.
so that's like by far number one. And probably the other thing I would tell my nephew or someone, right, would probably be start building your credit early on. Like start, opening up some more credit cards. Not that you have to use them, but start, positioning yourself for when you do accumulate enough knowledge after you've worked on yourself enough. Eventually, you could then access the resources to invest in your first real estate property or invest into some actual mentorship that's going to teach you some valuable business skill and start networking with people, right? So I would tell them to work on themselves, focus on developing communication skills and building their credit up. Those are going to be like some of the most valuable things that they can do early on in their business career.
So we got a couple of minutes left. Before I get to the other, because I want to find a way for people that are come my channel to reach out to you, get a hold of you. We talked about 2025 and kind of just the turbulent world we're in right now. I've a lot. I've heard this term fourth turning before, where just everything's converging, right? Possible World War III. Who really knows right now? So people, I think this is something that I try to discuss here is not to get encapsulated with fear. So what are some of your routines, Andrew, that led to your success on basic keeping that mindset, right? Because I think it does sound like it when we say working on yourself that you brought up, it's all up in your head, right? In most cases, right? So what can you kind of share that you've had some what's been your secret sauce on doing that to get to where you're at?
Yeah, I think some of the most valuable key concepts I adopted, maybe one of them that comes to mind is, when you're faced with obstacles, they're simply something that you created. Like it's something that you agree with is an obstacle. So obstacles don't really exist unless you make them out to be an obstacle, right? When you mention like, what are some of those key things, right? And it's really just not giving up on yourself. It's really just, you know, understanding like any limitation that you put in front of yourself is something that you put there. It's not necessarily what someone else put there, but you agreed with that limitation and it's stopping you from achieving what you want. So like going into 2025, right? Like, you don't want to sit back and observe everything that's happening, but you actually want to speak up and put yourself out there to, help make your life better and make other lives better.
Awesome. Yeah. So, yeah, do you have any final words, Andrew? We're gonna, like I said, I think hopefully the world will not implode in 2 weeks, and come January, there'll be peaceful transition of power here in the US. If you're lucky enough to be in Puerto Rico, like some of my friends are down there, your friends are probably down in Puerto Rico. That's lucky for them. But what are some of your final words kind of to everyone here? And bottom line, how can everyone get a hold of you as well?
Yeah. So if anyone wants to get a hold of me, you can go to Instagram. My name's Andrew Imbessi, 1S. And if, or even if you want to learn more about the things I do, I have a YouTube channel myself. You could go to bogegroup.com. It's BOGE group.com. And yeah, I mean, I help people access funding so they could invest in any business or investment that they want. And yeah, you guys anyone who's listening has a really good mentor with Craig as well.
Yeah. So, well, hey guys, if you guys are watching, I taken a long look at what Andrew's done. Please check him out, obviously, because credit, I wish, Andrew, I would have learned credit 10, 20 years ago. So when you hit 40 already, you kind of have honestly, everything was a learning lesson, military. But yeah, look, if you guys are watching this and you're 19, credit is becoming more important than ever, and it helps you to buy real estate. So one thing I had to learn the hard way, and hopefully you guys are watching and you're not going to learn the hard way. Well, guys, that's it. So, yeah, have a great day, and Please tune in, guys.